So if you haven't yet done so, please pull up the tasks list for today. Just to show you, it should be, this is Unit 5, Lesson 6. So you're looking for tasks for U5L6. It's both an announcement and an assignment. The do now is just a really short video. Since the spring term is wrapping up, I'm getting a lot of questions about grades and missing assignments, and I wanted to show you very briefly where you can track that on your own through Canvas. So I'm going to time us for 3 minutes. The video is about 2.5 minutes. Please just watch that video, and then we'll come together to briefly discuss it. Go for it. All right, let's come back together. Any questions on where you can go to check grades and missing assignment stuff? And as I think I mentioned in the video, if you need extra copies of anything, if you need help with anything, I'm happy to do that. If you've got like do now reading quizzes that you want to retake, some of your classmates can tell you, just send me an email. I will try to send you some of those. You can retake those. I tend to offer retakes on anything that you've earned like a 2 out of 5 or a 2 out of 4 on, or anything below that. Keep in mind that those reading quizzes are homework grades. Those aren't actually like test grades or quiz grades. Speaking of assessments though, today is our last day of online lessons. We're going to do the final 2, which means the next time we meet for Unit 5, Lesson 7, you are going to be taking a test. And that's on the announcement there as well, just to share my screen on the tasks list. Under number 3 here, Solar System Online, you'll see that I have posted a link to a study guide and review slides. Here's what the study guide looks like. The test is going to be open notes, no time limit. I'm hoping for about probably 75 to 100 points worth. And it's going to be a few questions from the last parts of chapter 5, 5.11 and 5.12, specifically all about orbits, right? We talked about satellites, elliptical orbits, that kind of thing. And then the rest of it will be the questions that you all submitted to me as part of your projects, right? So you are going to be answering your classmates' questions. So every class will be different, right? Because every section gave different kinds of presentations. So I'm making a unique test for each section. And that's what so there'll be 8 multiple choice questions, 8 free response questions that you and your classmates submitted to me. So please make sure that you have done that. Speaking of which, everyone here who's present now has. I'm missing some from 2 students, but I'll worry about that later. There's also some review slides from chapter 5 there. Any questions on that, on the assessment coming up? You'll have most of the next period to work on it and can keep working afterwards if you need to as well. Alrighty, then we are going to wrap up today. Carmen and Molly have a lesson on eclipses, and then you're going to have a guest lesson from my C period class. Cora and Olive did a lesson on the first part of chapter 28, which no one in this class covered, all about the universe formation. So that'll be hopefully some helpful review after reading that section of the chapter. So I haven't actually checked the discussion board. Molly or Carmen, which one of you posted the lesson link?
I did.
Okay, any special instructions? No? Okay. So you two are on standby in case anyone has any technical questions. Molly and Carmen, please remember to fill out those 2 Google forms. The links are on the bottom of that chunk of text on the tasks list. I just need 1 multiple choice, 1 free response from you as a group, so you can chat with each other if you need to. Everyone else, just make sure you go through the lesson, then provide them feedback by either replying on the discussion board or using the Flipgrid. Okay, we'll check back in 20 minutes. Go for it. That was a well-made video. Did you guys use an editing software or something to stitch it together?
No, I just used iMovie.
Nice. Cool. That was great. I love that clip with the guys replacing the sun at the end. I think things like that with editing, it's really cool, pretty clever. So, all right. Anything new or interesting that you learned from this that you want to share?
I was able to like kind of learn the differences, because like I was always confused with like the difference between solar and lunar eclipse. So that kind of clarified everything.
I liked the references to the different like cultural significances, like with the Mayans. I didn't fully get how the jaguars relate to an eclipse, but I still thought that was interesting in their culture.
Has anyone seen the movie Apocalypto? should definitely go check it out if you haven't. It's very cool. It's a Mel Gibson directed film, but it's all about ancient Mayans. I think it's all shot and it's all filmed in Mayan. It's a fictional film. There's kind of a pivotal scene where one of the characters is like about to get sacrificed, and then there's a solar eclipse, and they think the gods are satisfied, so they let him loose. Anyway, it's a good movie. It's a little violent, but the solar eclipse plays a key role there, and they never directly say it, but it's basically supposed to be ancient Mayan culture. So it's cool that you did highlight that. For me, the big takeaway was how eclipses still occur 1 to 2 times a year, but that if the moon didn't tilt in its orbit, that if it was level, we would be seeing eclipses monthly. And I mean, how funny would that be if there was that occurrence where we're just like, oh, got dark outside, just another eclipse. Be an interesting alternative universe. So Carmen, you saw an eclipse in Oregon?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. When you were 12?
Yeah,
And was that like from your house, or did you have to travel somewhere to like go see it?
it was at my house
Cool.
because we're right by. I don't know. It kind of just went through Portland mostly, and we lived in Portland, so
Nice. That photo you took of the shadows through the tree was awesome.
yeah.
So, Molly, I know you have a whole other story. You actually traveled a great distance to go see an eclipse, right?
Yeah, we went to Chile. I'm actually wearing the shirt from it.
Nice.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. And all the locals were up there like cheering when it was happening. And it
Yeah,
was
I mean, you were probably part of a crowd, right? That went, because wasn't the whole thing is you reserved a hotel just to go to that certain spot?
Yeah, it was kind of like not in the city because we wanted to go back where there wasn't like light pollution so you could see it better. So the people around us were mostly just locals. Like we hiked up this hill and then saw it.
That was great.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Who else has seen a solar eclipse? Anyone seen one? Nice. Luca? Yeah, I haven't. There actually was a partial eclipse here in Pebble Beach, I think not even less than a year ago. But typical Pebble Beach weather, it was like foggy and overcast, so you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I was about to say that. There was an eclipse here, but I was at the field and there was fog.
Yep. Yeah. So, oh well, that's we have the Pacific Ocean to thank for that one. So, any questions that came into anybody's mind? One thing that came up for me about eclipses in earlier presentations, and you showed it in an image here. In your video, one of the images you showed the lunar eclipse. It's not like the moon disappears; it actually kind of turns red. They call it a blood moon sometimes, and I was wondering like why is that? So I've looked it up, and it was mentioned in previous presentations. But it's really cool. The light. So a lunar eclipse is when the moon moves into Earth's shadow. And it turns out that the light is actually refracted by Earth's atmosphere. And so blue colors are refracted out, but red colors are refracted in. And so when the moon is behind Earth in its shadow, it becomes red because that's the light as it passes through our atmosphere. It's being hit by red light. So that's what they call the blood moon. So if you ever see that again, you're actually seeing a lunar eclipse, which I didn't realize because I've seen them before. And I was like, oh, it's more like I thought it was just because it was low in the horizon, like a sunset. But in reality, it's actually the lunar eclipse is what you're seeing, which is kind of cool. You made a good point about the phases, right? That you have to have a full moon for a lunar eclipse, right? And so that's when, look, if it's red, then you're seeing an actual eclipse during a full moon. Any feedback on the video itself or on the Kahoot?
I thought it was good and really straight to the point about all of the topics that you guys were talking about. And the Kahoot it kind of summed up every single point that you guys talked about in your video.
Yeah, I was gonna go off that and say that your Kahoot kind of like took each main point from the chapter into each question. So that was good.
I don't know how I felt about that last question though. Wording was a little weird, but I think I got it wrong, so that's why I'm all frustrated. But that's just my own fault, I think. I thought that was great. You put together the video really well. The transitions were really seamless. And I like the little sound effects in the beginning and stuff too. It was pretty good. All right, any other questions or comments for them? Cool. All right, thanks. So Molly and Carmen, make sure you have submitted your a question, one multiple choice, one free response, and done your feedback. Everyone else has provided feedback for them. Last thing we're going to do then is a guest lesson. This is by Cora and Olive in my C period class, all about chapter 28.1. The way you access this is go back to that same discussion share board. I'll just share my screen really quickly here to show you. But I posted the lesson. So you can just search my name, type hate right there in the little search bar. And there's actually 2 guest lessons that I posted, but you want to look at the earlier one. So I posted this a while back, I think last week on Friday. So it's guest lesson on chapter 28.1, solar system and its formation, like Cora and Olive. It's a Google site that they made. So just remember to look at the tabs in the upper right corner to navigate through the site. And then there's a short video you should watch, and then a Kahoot that you should complete. Again, on time for 20 minutes. Probably won't take you 20 minutes to get through this. So I might call us back in with 5 or 4 minutes left to go. But we'll see how things go. All right, let me know if you have questions. I'll be here. And to provide feedback, just hit reply to my post. Or you can go directly to their Flipgrid. I put a link in the tasks list. Kind of fitting that we're ending by going back to the very first part of the chapter, which we read almost 2 weeks ago now. Anything new or interesting that you took from this, reading through the site, watching the video?
I liked the not conspiracy theories, the like different theories like section of it. It's pretty interesting to read.
Yeah, it was almost more of a history lesson.
Yeah.
On that note, anything strike you as sort of interesting though, that they kind of go through time? So like 1904, they talk about planetesimals, and 1917, 1960, but then what's the most recent year that they list? Anyone see on the site?
Like 1960.
Yeah, it was 1964. So anyone have any idea why the 1960s was such a big breakthrough time for astronomy and space stuff? Anyone know what was going on around then?
The Apollo missions.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Anyone know what was motivating the Apollo missions? Why were we spending billions of dollars to get into space?
Space.
Yeah, right. It was almost a political thing, right? Or at least that's one thing that the scientists and the technology was there, but also the money and the funding and the motivation was to try to get to space first before Russia or anyone else could. So I think that's one reason. I'm not entirely sure about when Hubble became operational. I don't think it was around then either, but that was also kind of once data started coming in from that and images, it kind of made us realize a lot of different things. But what struck me about that was, I mean, there's got to be some updates, right, on the nebular theory. I mean, are we really still operating on what was decided in 1964? But I think that a lot of the groundwork was laid then. I haven't looked up if there's any, like, I don't think anything's been proven totally wrong about the nebular theory and the idea of planet formation. But anyway, I'm just curious about that, if there has been more information that's been discovered. But anyway, I think they stopped at that being like the last big discovery date. So the video, I think, did a good job too of sort of portraying the violence of all this, right? I think you watch a lot of videos and it all seems really cool and perfect, but I thought that the video that they included was kind of cool to show that this really was a lot of explosions and things bashing together. It was not a life promoting time. I think we're more now in kind of the middle age, calmer side where life has finally been able to form in these Goldilocks zones. Any questions or any feedback on the website or the Kahoot? John?
At this point in time in our solar system, like, would it still be possible for planets to form?
That's a good question. Like, are there still planets forming out there? We learned from the failed planet presentation, which I think you guys actually touched on, that there is the asteroid belt, the Kuiper belt, and the Oort cloud, which are all debris areas. So it's possible that there might be some planet formation going on there very slowly. I don't think it's anything you'll see in your lifetime. I don't remember if it was your presentation or another classes, but there is an interesting thing too. There's something about the orbits of the dwarf planets, the outermost ones like Pluto, and I forget the ones that are past that, but there's something weird about their orbits that a lot of astronomers suspect that there is actually a ninth planet out there that just hasn't been noticed or discovered. But they think that there's something orbiting there that's affecting the gravity and rotation of things like Pluto, because they do these weird movements that can't necessarily be explained with the current data. But it's kind of fascinating to realize that those objects are so far out and so hard to observe that we don't really know. But I would suspect that, yes, I think there might be some planet formation still occurring, possibly in the Oort cloud and things like that. I think in those outermost regions, there might be something that's slowly clearing it. But yeah, that's something that's going to take an unimaginable amount of time. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know exactly. All right, any other thoughts or feedback? Okay, kids, well, congratulations. You made it through 8 online lessons all about the solar system. I know it was a bit of a slog, but you all taught each other about these different things from this chapter. And so the next step is going to be to take a test. And so what I'm going to do is stitch together the questions that you all submitted. I'm going to pepper in a few more things about chapter 5 in particular. But again, the test will be open notes. You can refer to whatever you want to. I do encourage you to still try to take 1 page of summary notes, but I'm not going to hold you to only looking at that because I can't control any of that. So do what you want to do or need to do while taking the test. So there's also no time limit. We'll dedicate most of the next class period to completing it, but you can keep working afterwards as well. Study guide and review slides are on Canvas. Your only other homework is to make sure that you have submitted feedback to all 8 of the lessons, either as a discussion post or as a Flipgrid video. That's what I'll be checking and grading as well. I've already graded all of the projects, so you can go look at feedback on those if you want on your Canvas grades thing, which I showed you in the video. But otherwise, that is all that I had. So just remember on Friday to be ready to take the test, and then the Rube Goldberg project's the only other thing that we're really building up to. We'll do one more little activity next week. But all right, kids, I'll hang around if Hank, you got a question?
Should we be working on our Rube Goldberg thing too? Like just...
That's sort of a constant thing. I think more next week is where I'm going to really be like, all right, like this now has to get done if you've been putting it off, because that's what the idea is, that June 1st and June 2nd, I think it's Monday, Tuesday, that's when you need to have your video ready to share of at least a 15-second long Rube Goldberg machine. Yep. But we'll focus more on that next week. Also, I know a lot of you are taking APs, like I think AP World History, I think is Thursday or Friday. Obviously, that takes priority, so don't worry about coming to science class. The science test, this test, it will activate, it'll open right during your normal class period, but then it will stay open. I have not put in a close time. So if you've got an AP exam, please focus on that. Take the AP exam, rest, recover, and when you feel ready, then you can tackle the Science 2 test. Ideally, you would have it done by the end of the day on Friday, but it's okay if you need to work on it over the weekend too. I'm okay with that. Your AP should be your main focus right now. And course selection was just sent out. So make sure you're filling those out for those single semester courses. Posted some resources for that too. And let me know if you want any advice on deciding that. All right, kids, that's all I got. I'll hang around if anyone's got individual questions. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.